how to trick your mind into being creative. I am joined today by famous speaker, fine artist, and the Gilded Muse, Robbi Firestone. Hey, Robbi.
Hi, Jane. How are you, Dr. Jane?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well. Thank you so much for being here today. Everyone, Robbi and I are dear friends. She is also a transformative coach, and she owns Santa Fe art classes. She does art classes online for people around the world. She's just an amazing person. You've got to go look her up. I'll put all of her links and contact information in this video description. What she's here today to help me talk to you about is expanding your mind, having a more flexible mind because of creativity, right?
Absolutely. That's my wheelhouse. That's what I dig. Everyone's an artist, everyone's a creative, and I love finding ways to ensure that everyone knows it.
Absolutely. So if you think that you don't have an inner artist, or if you think that you're one of the best artists in the world, it doesn't matter. This video is for you. So stick around because that's what we're talking about today.
Yes.
GILD Coaching. More success, less stress.
People are always asking me how they can have a more flexible mindset, how they can overcome negativity in their environment, how they can not be impacted by things that happen around them. Well, in order to really stretch your brain to be flexible, you have this one little piece of it that is a little unused, right, Robbi? For most people aren't using their creativity center.
Absolutely. It's fascinating to me how people feel so separate from their creativity when we are actually creative beings. Every cell in our bodies are creating billions at a time. So it's just a great reminder that, yeah, everyone's creative.
Everybody's creative. So what would you say to people who are like, oh, no, I want a more stable mindset. I want a more stable foundation, but this creativity thing is not for me?
Well, creativity actually creates more or gives you more stability, because creativity enables me to look at scenarios and find different ways to problem solve. It's really about breaking up those neurosynaptic pathways in our brain and finding not only new ways to problem solve, but happier, more joyful, more playful, more interesting ways. So creativity is the good life.
Absolutely. So you said, breaking up those pathways in our brain. A lot of people in recent years have started to do things like brain games, because it helps to use different tracks in your brain that you're not naturally using otherwise. But creativity really causes things to fire off all over in all different parts of our conscious mind, and it impacts our subconscious mind.
Well, and I love that you say that, because the reality is people think that they have to find their creativity, but actually what it is it's a practice. Creativity is a practice, and there are all these tips and tricks and ideas and techniques that you'd find on my YouTube channel, which just basically hacks your creative brain, hacks those habitual pathways from refiring, and gives us new opportunity to see things differently, which is creativity.
Yeah, absolutely. So today we're supposed to talk about ways to trick yourself into being creative so that you can have that expanded mindset, so that you can have that better foundation. So as a celebrated fine artist, help us trick ourselves into finding that creative person inside.
I love that you say the trick, because that's exactly what it is. I am constantly tricking myself into being different and more creative. So for example, one of the simplest is, and even if you're at home for long periods of time, is literally listen to different kinds of music than you usually would. If you say, oh, I hate country music. I grew up in rural Missouri, like you in Memphis. I actually love classic country, and but I don't listen to it. That if you just flip your preferences, eat a different food, go to a restaurant you normally wouldn't go to. It's about mixing it up because when we get into those habitual spaces, that's when our creativity shuts down. And can I tell you kind of a reason why?
Yeah, please.
So if you think about the biology of human, right? So what we know is we are safe if we continue going down the standard path, the status quo. And it's so simple. When we're cavemen, we know that if we take this pathway through that little rock formation onto the other side, there's a caldera of grazing elk. And most likely, if I stand on this rock, I can shoot one and I can have dinner for my family and not be eaten by a T-Rex. Where if I go to the right by Jane over there, if I go Jane's way, then I know that there could potentially be wolverines, or there's a saber-toothed tiger who lives over that way, and he's more likely to get me than if I take my little path through the rocks here. So actually, those neurosynaptic pathways are there to preserve our biology, right? Mm-hmm. And that's why our brain forms these safety measures and says, Robbi, you're a good girl if you do this.
Yeah, those are those subconscious patterns we're talking about all the time. And sometimes they're outdated and they keep us in the patterns that don't serve us. So yeah, breaking this helps to crack that eggshell.
And anything that we do that is different, as simple as listening to different music, to people may think I'm crazy for doing this, but I jump out of airplanes or scuba dive with great white sharks because it scares the bejesus out of me. And that there's something about that pushing myself into fear that that breaks everything up and startles me into being a new me and having new ways of thinking. Now, we can't go cage diving all the time, and I don't cage dive, I actually free dive, but we can't do that all the time. But you can do things like listen to different kind of music or trick yourself into eating a food that you don't think you like and really being present with it.
Yeah. Well, and that's the way that you also expand all sorts of different horizons by re-experiencing things. You know, if you don't have a taste for spinach as a child, you know, retry it in your 20s and maybe it'll be one of your favorite foods. Talking from experience on the spinach. But yeah. I know. Yeah, guilty.
I was like, oh my gosh, how can you stand this? Like, oh, and now I'm like, oh.
Yeah, but things change. And I love that you said that you're pushing yourself through your fear. One of the things that we teach all the time, you know, in the GILD family, is that you'll either be ruled by your fear or you will be fueled by your fear. It's one or the other. And so it's taking these little daily changes that you're talking about, just, I call them pattern interrupts. It's just something that your subconscious mind is like, what was that? What? So you're kind of throwing it off and you're getting it comfortable with the uncomfortable.
Exactly. That is exactly it. It reminds me of, I have this mane of hair that I like. And
you have fantastic hair.
So do you. Thank you very much. Mirror, mirror on the fabulous wall. So anyway, I remember sitting and getting my hair cut one time, and this big chunk of like 4-inch hair come, you know, like way too much hair. And I was like, I remember having kind of this incredibly traumatic reaction, not at the person, thank goodness, because, you know, I'm more professional for that. But inside I was like, ah! And I thought, okay, this is ridiculous. Your hair's going to grow back. Who the heck cares? Get over it. My rational mind came right in, right? And said, this is going to be okay. This is not a drama, Robbi. This is really just a haircut, right? So what I realized at that point was I must push myself into fearful places, because then when something actually traumatic happens or difficult happens, I have the coping mechanisms to deal with it.
Yeah.
Versus, you know, crying wolf over a haircut. Right. And that's not an external crying wolf. It's literally this drama.
That's the comfort zone. That's the fear signals that keep you in that, we call it the failure zone, as you know, but that keep you in that comfort zone. And you're just constantly daring your comfort zone to get bigger. And I've witnessed that in you for years now, which is highly admirable. So,
Well, thank you. And I like that playing. That's another trick. And I love that you just named it that, which is dare yourself. Dare yourself daily to do something scary. So right behind me is the Santa Fe Ski Mountain. And it's so beautiful. And I live on these 300 acres of land. And I came across fresh bear scat recently. And we have packs of coyotes. 2 days ago, 2 young elk, a couple, a beautiful buck and his doe, came right up to my door, up to my window here. And, there. And I'm in the midst of the wild. And for a long time, I was working in town, and I convinced myself I was afraid to go hiking on my own land, on my own space. And so I called a couple friends and said, talk me out of this. And literally, I'm like, am I going to get eaten by coyotes or bears? And they laughed and they were like, you'll be fine, go. And I made myself, and now I'm running 5 miles a day.
Yeah.
I'm enjoying the outdoors again. I'm seeing this beautiful wildlife, and they're a heck of a lot more scared than I am of that.
they are. I was about to say they're probably more scared of you than you are of them.
But I let that come over my brain for about 4 years of don't go outside. The wolves are going to eat you. And I'm like, are you? I'm the girl who grew up in the woods.
Yeah.
And that takes me to another tip and trick. What was it? Because I'm thinking about, the other trick. Can I give you another trick?
Yep.
Okay. So another trick is think of when you were 5 years old, what you loved to do. What did you love to do, Dr. Jane, when you were 5 years old?
I was 5. I don't know if it was 5 or 6 or 7, but there were some trees. I lived on a couple of acres of land, and my front yard was basically a football field. It was this big, beautiful, flat, run, go play croquet, drive the farm truck around, while you're on your dad's lap, big. But there was this one patch of trees, and I would climb to a point that would make my mother nervous, and this tree I could feel the tree sway a little, and I'm telling you, I could sit there for hours.
Yeah.
I loved it.
And when you and I met, what were we doing? In Canada. Whistler, right?
Right.
We did this tree course, and you and I were fireballs, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and it scared me, to be up there in that tree, but I love pushing myself. And, I'm scared of heights. Like every time I have a physical reaction when I experience heights, not flying in an airplane so much, but looking over the edge of a tall building or something like that, or even 3 stories, not even that tall, but I'm constantly pushing myself. And I too have gone skydiving and bungee jumping and all of the things that they say this is how you'll break your fear of heights, but I don't think it's about breaking the fear. I think it's about finding a way to make it work for you.
Absolutely. And I love that you said climbing trees. That was huge for me. I had a beautiful relationship with a gorgeous dogwood tree in my backyard. And I measured my growth every year by how far I could get out on the branch of the dogwood, this particular branch, without breaking it. So, but that's it. If we remember who we were when we were 5. Now, I know that a lot of people had very traumatic 5-year-old ages, so I am honoring that, and what I'm doing is hoping to serve behind any fears or anything that existed when we were 5. When you felt safe and you chose to do something, what was it? I would go to stables. I would run, a mile or ride my bike down to the horse stables and spend time with horses. And I haven't spent time with horses in years and years. And now every Monday I go to a stable here, and I work at the stable just as volunteer with developmentally disabled people, adults. And to smell the horse again, to feel, just brush the mane, to groom a horse. It feels so exquisite to my soul. It nurtures that 5-year-old baby girl inside.
Yeah.
And it helps me play more And the reason that helps me be creative is because I ask people for their 5-year-old self, because when we're flirting with our creativity, it's generally a really underdeveloped part of our personality, that 4 or 5-year-old who wants to play with creativity, right?
Yeah.
And so if you, hi honey.
Hey honey.
He's going to the gym. So if you nurture that 4 or 5-year-old, that young toddler that is just wanting to play, and you give it permission to come out, then that's a big part of your inherent, innate creative genius. Is that
Absolutely. Well, and that's really the foundation of one of the methodologies that we use with our clients in GILD Coaching. Is called Playing Life. And it turns whatever it is, if it's an executive, if it's a CEO of a Fortune 500 company, or if it's a stay-at-home mom who's trying to figure out life balance, we turn their goals into a game, and then we create their game board and we play their life. So it really takes the stress out of it. And just framing their problems or their issues or their goals as a game is tricking them into being creative. So I think that that's a really beautiful point. And
I love something that into our retreat that we're doing.
Absolutely.
With the Young Presidents Organization women and the World Presidents Organization women, who've spent their lives as very, very high achieving women.
Absolutely.
And served their families and created these mini micro economies in their businesses, some of them not so micro. A lot of them have forgotten how to play. And so I'm so grateful that so many come to you and me to serve them and to bring them back that youthful, joyful piece of themselves.
Yeah, absolutely. And that brings me to our next big thing, which is the Gilded Muse. So everybody who, if you're watching this right now and building your mindset through creativity, building your mindset through exploring those different tracks in your mind, if that is something that is interesting to you, check out the video description here. There's a link for you to go, and we are very close to making this available to you. So it's a partnership between the two of us, and we're going to combine the best of both worlds, mindset coaching and creativity, tapping into your inner artist from a fine artist and an incredible coach. So both of those were descriptions of Robbi. I'm not saying I'm an incredible. No, I do think I'm a pretty good coach.
Fantastic. Well, and I love that that's our overlap, because I know you make fine art, and I love that. And so we dance together.
We do. We just have different things in the spotlight. My coaching's in the spotlight, and my art is over here, and your art is in the spotlight, and your coaching's over here. But now we're combining them for all of you. So if that is of any interest to you, we want to hear from you. We want you to click on the link for the Gilded Muse that is down in the video description. Let us know who you are. Let us know that you're interested in this, and then you will be the first to know when it is available for you.
You lucky duck.
All right. If this video has been of any value to you at all, will you please give us a thumbs up? Let us know you love us. Subscribe to this channel, and make sure you go down to the comment section and just tag Robbi and say, you are a rock star. Thank you so much for being here and giving us your wisdom and your insight on busting through your fear. Thank you for living that story and not just talking about it. And thank you for being part of the Gilded Muse. We'll see you next time.
I'm honored. Thank you.